Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wednesday live stream. It's 8:30 here in Spain, and it's Wednesday. So, this is the time when I get online to help you with your English and help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. If this is the first time you're watching, my name's Craig. I'm from the website mansioningles.com that you can see just below here. And also, we have a podcast called inglespodcast.com. You can find the podcast on the website inglespodcast.com or anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. And I know what you're thinking. Where's Lynn? Well, if you're a regular listener, you will know that every second week I do this with Lynn from putitlikethis.com. But she was with me last week. She will be back next week. And sometimes I bring on people onto the stream, other teachers, for you to meet and get to know. But it's just been a very, very busy week this week. I've been exceptionally busy. In fact, I've been snowed under. Let me put that in the chat if that's a new expression for you, to be snowed under. Means I've been very, very busy. So it's just me. I'm alone. I'm flying solo today. So you'll have to put up with me. There's a phrasal verb. You'll have to put up with me today as we talk about phrasal verbs, and hopefully you'll be able to learn a few new ones. So let's see who's joining us live at the moment. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Gemma. Thanks for joining today. Hopefully more people will come in soon and join us. While we're waiting for more people to join us, obviously the Queen died last week. What do you think about that? 70 years, was it, that she was Queen of England and she passed away? You must have seen it on the news. Very, very sad. And I know what you're thinking. Enough, Craig. Do we have to listen to you speaking about the Queen, banging on about the Queen? We've seen enough on TV and on the radio. Well, I agree. I think it's probably too much. I'm not a royalist, and I don't agree that just because you were born into a family that you should have the royal privilege. However, I do admire the Queen for her service, for her sense of duty, for the work that she did for the country for 70 years. That's a long, long time. So even though I'm not very keen on the royal family in general, and let's face it, there are a few idiots in the royal family, I do respect what the Queen has done over the years, and yeah, it is quite a sad thing. Hi, Adri. Thanks for joining. Now, to tie that back to English, the Queen passing away, you probably know that the Queen and the royal family, and many people who were educated in a similar way to the Queen, speak with a particular accent. It's actually called RP, which is received pronunciation. That's what it's called. And it's a very distinctive accent and way of speaking, which actually is only used by 3% approximately of the UK population. So you're unlikely to hear a lot of RP if you visit the UK, because only 3% of the people there speak it. They have regional accents. My accent's from the south of England. Obviously, people in Liverpool, Newcastle, Scotland, you might notice that Lynn has slightly different vowel sounds when she speaks that I have. So people have different ways of speaking. Hi, Francisco. Thanks for joining from the Dominican Republic. So, yeah, and there was a very interesting documentary about the Queen on the BBC that showed how her accent had changed over the years. When she was very, very young and she became Queen, her accent was very, very RP, very pronounced, very upper class and posh. And over the years, probably because of advice from her advisors, she modified her accent a little. And the last sort of 10, 20 years, I think she changed it so that people would identify with her more and there wouldn't be so much of a class distinction and a class separation from her. But if you get a chance, it's over on the BBC. There's lots of information and stuff about the Queen. But I think that's enough about the Queen for this hour. Let's look at some phrasal verbs and see if you can learn some new ones. Now, you might need a pen and paper for this, or at least a text file open on your computer, because if there are some new phrasal verbs here, and there probably is, it's a good idea to make a note, write them down, and try to remember them and use them next week if you get a chance to speak English. Full verbs tend to be more formal than phrasal verbs. So you're more likely to hear phrasal verbs, which will be a verb and a particle, or a verb and a preposition, in spoken English, and especially in informal English. If you write an informal email, for example, it's a good idea to use some phrasal verbs. But it's not essential, so don't stress too much about them, because very often there's a full verb that you can use with the same or very similar meaning. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for joining. For example, I can say, I entered my flat, or I can say, I went in my flat. And went in is a lot more common. It's used a lot more, and it sounds more normal than I entered my flat. I entered my flat does sound a bit too formal. Here's another example. I can say to someone, I can ask the question, can you purchase some milk on your way home? But that sounds very formal. It's much more common to say, can you pick up some milk on your way home? Which means to buy milk. To purchase and to pick up both mean to buy milk. Or you could also say to get milk. Hey, can you get some milk on your way home? Or you could use the phrasal verb to pick up some milk. So thinking about that, the fact that to pick up is very similar to buy or to purchase in one use of it, and to go in is very similar to enter. I'm going to give you some full verbs in a context, and I want you please to write in the chat what you think the phrasal verb is, which means the same or something very similar. And to make it a bit easier, I've given you the first letter of the verb and the first letter of the particle. So here's the first one. Remember, write the answer in the chat if you know the phrasal verb. Let's see who can write it first. She recovered from her illness. To recover from something. There's a phrasal verb which means something very, very similar. Begins with G, and the preposition begins with O. Do you know the answer? She recovered from her illness. Her illness. Please write the answer in the chat if you know. And while we're waiting, maybe I'll speak about the Queen again. Okay. Well done, Hema. Fantastic. Hema's got the answer. No, Cynthia, not get on, but that's a good try. It's actually get over, but it's in the past because she recovered, past simple. So she got over her illness. If you get over something, you recover from it. My friend had COVID, but he got over it really quickly. He recovered really quickly. You have a cold, you get over a cold. You have a cough, you get over the cough, the flu. So you recover from it. Again, if that is a new phrasal verb for you and you like it, write it down and make a note on paper or on a text file on your computer. I don't mind which. Next one. The dog attacked me. Bit more difficult, this one. The dog attacked me. To attack someone. You can attack someone with a knife. You can attack someone with your fists. What's the phrasal verb that you can replace that full verb with? The dog, me. Write your answer in the chat and I'll tell you if you're correct. Begins with W, the verb, and the particle begins with F. It's a preposition. Any ideas? You're thinking. I know you're thinking. I can hear you thinking. The dog attacked me. The dog. Nobody. Shall I give you the answer? I'll give you the answer. The dog went for me. If the dog goes for you, it bites you, it attacks you, or tries to bite you. It went for me. So to attack is to go for someone. I tried to deliver a letter, tried to deliver a postcard, and the dog in the garden went for me. Okay, let's go to the next one. Again, if you did not know that, make a note, write it down. Excuse me. Liz hadn't expected this. This is another one that might be new for you. If you know the answer, please write it in the chat. So to expect, that's the full verb. Verb begins with B. Phrasal verb begins with B and the particle begins with F. I didn't expect there to be so much coverage of the Queen's death on the news. It's almost like nobody is dying anywhere else in the world. The war in Ukraine doesn't exist anymore. Everybody's stopped fighting. There's no problems in Africa. No news. Nothing's happening except in London, which is a bit crazy. But anyway, it's going to be like this for the next week. Only news about the royal family. And as I said at the beginning, that's fine. She did give fantastic service to the country. But obviously meeting Boris and then Liz Truss, that finished her off. That's another phrasal verb. To finish somebody off means to kill them. So yeah, probably Boris and Liz. Just got Adri's answer. Yep, the dog went for me. A bit of a delay there with your answer, Adri. Maybe that was the internet speed. Do you know this one, Adri? Liz hadn't expected this. Liz hadn't. What's the phrasal verb that's missing? Does anybody know? No guesses? It is quite tricky, this one. I'll give it to you. To bargain for. If you don't bargain for something, you don't think it's going to happen. You don't expect it. Now, you probably know the word bargain when you go shopping. Oh, that's really cheap. It's a bargain. I bought a new jacket. It was only 40 euros. It was a really good bargain. That's the noun. But when bargain is a verb, you bargain for something. That means you didn't expect it. It's usually used in the negative. I didn't bargain for this happening. I didn't bargain for it. I didn't expect it. It wasn't planned. Yeah. So all those people that wanted to watch football this weekend hadn't bargained for the fact that the Queen was going to pass away. So now there's no football, there's no sport. Nobody bargained for all of the cancellations of the sporting events this weekend. Did you bargain for it? I didn't bargain for it. Nobody expected it. Again, if that's a new phrasal verb, make a note, write it down, and we shall continue. The next one. Another phrasal verb that might be new for you. To realize. She suddenly realized. It suddenly her. What's the missing phrasal verb? If you're a Spanish speaker, I know we've got some Spanish speakers watching in the chat. Realize is darse cuenta. She suddenly realized. If you know the answer, have a guess, write it in the chat. Absolutely, Andrea, that's a good sentence. Nobody bargained for these economic taxes. That's true. Nobody bargained for the increase in fuel prices, in electricity prices. Although I think the European Union are doing a good thing. This week it was announced that the European Union, hopefully, if everybody agrees, will tax the profits on energy companies because they've made so much money in the last year or so. So they're going to take some of that money, tax it, to help people who cannot pay their energy bills. And I think that's a good thing. And they are not doing that in the UK for some reason. They've refused to tax the energy companies' profits in the UK. So that's what Liz Truss is going to do. I don't know where she's going to get the money. I don't know where the money's coming from. Any ideas about this one, guys? She suddenly realized it's suddenly on her. Any ideas? Okay, I will let you know. And please, if these phrasal verbs are new and you haven't seen them before, obviously make a note, write them down, write down the example sentence, and also write a different sentence in the chat to practice the phrasal verb, and I will correct you if you make any mistakes. So again, not a very common phrasal verb that you may not have seen in your course books, but commonly used in conversation. I use this all the time. It suddenly dawned on her. Means she suddenly realized. Oh, it suddenly dawned on me that tomorrow I have to go to the bank. Or it suddenly dawned on me that I have a live stream at 8:30. I'd forgotten about it. It suddenly dawned on me. I suddenly realized. And dawn is when the sun comes up. Amanecer in Spanish. So if you can connect that picture in your mind of the sun rising, and then you realize something dawns on you, it's like the sun coming up, the light comes on, you realize something. If you can make that connection with the picture in your mind, it will be easier to remember. Moving on to the next one. I sympathized with them. I really sympathized with, those people who, again, back to the Queen, those people who were queuing up for 2 or 3 days to see the coffin, to see the Queen in Westminster Abbey. I was watching it on TV before, and I sympathize with them because they've been queuing up for 3 days to go in and see a coffin and do this and go. But obviously, it was very important for them. They wanted to pay their respects which is also a very useful expression. Speaking about the Queen, as I have been, to pay your respects. Now, that doesn't mean that you're actually paying any money. It means to give your respects or to show your respects. But the collocation we use in English is to pay your respects. De repente, I think is suddenly, Andrea. If something dawns on you, has dado cuenta, darse cuenta. I would translate that in Spanish. Oh, Gemma is on fire. Gemma is absolutely on the ball today. If you're on the ball, then you are really focused and really doing well. Yep, she's got it. I feel for them. If you feel for people, then you sympathize with them. I really feel for people who have admired the Queen all their lives and suddenly she's gone and something's missing. I feel for people who are very, very sad. I sympathize with them. I feel for them. Well done, Gemma. You're doing well. That's 2 you've got so far. So if feel for is a new phrasal verb, make a note in your notebooks and we will carry on. The police investigated it. This might be a bit easier. What do the police do when they investigate something? What's the phrasal verb we could use? Begins with L, the verb begins with L, and the particle begins with I. It's a preposition. The police investigated the murder. The police investigated the burglary. They it. What do you think? Come on, Gemma. Can you get 3? Anybody else? The police investigated it. What's the phrasal verb? Good try, Anna. But no. 50% correct. Anna thinks it's look over. No. If you look over something, well, it could have the physical meaning of looking over the wall or looking over the top of your computer or looking over the fence or the gate. That's when you're physically doing something, literally looking over an object. And as with most phrasal verbs, look over also has a different meaning that's not literal. You can look over a document. You can look over a presentation. You can look over someone's writing. You look over it, maybe look for mistakes or correcting some of the words. So to look over something really means to check that everything is okay. So that's not look over. And Andrea says look in. No, but very, very close, Andrea. Very, very close. Hammer's got it again. Look into. Well, that's 3. Fantastic. Yeah, if you look into something, you investigate it. The police looked into the disappearing money. The Queen's crown jewels were stolen and the police are looking into it. So to look into means to investigate. And as with most phrasal verbs, look into can have different meanings. So there's the literal meaning of look inside something. You can look into a room. You can look into a dark place or a box, for example, or a cave. Or you can have a figurative meaning, which is to look into, to investigate. So the police looked into the theft or the robbery or the murder. Moving on to the next one. He returned the money to me. I lent him some money and he the money. Notice this phrasal verb is separable, which means you can put the object in the middle. He returned the money to me. What's the phrasal verb? Begins with G and the particle with be. So you can say you me the money. What do you think? Okay, Andrea, you've got the verb correct, but you need the preposition as well because it's a phrasal verb, and phrasal verb always has at least 2 words. Remember to write in sentences with these phrasal verbs, put them into context, practice them. The more you practice them, write them, use them in conversation, the quicker they will stick in your mind. Yep, a couple of people have got it. Well done, MJ. That's very good. Gave back is the answer. And Hemma's got it as well. That's 4 you've got, Hemma. Hemma is in the lead. She's winning. Yep, very good. Francisca, give me back. Andrea, good. He gives me the money back. Yep, that's good. Well done, Andrea. He gave me the money back, or he gives me the money back every time I lend it to him. Get back, you're saying. Does that work? Get back? I don't think it works. He get me the money back. No, Hema. Gave me the money back means return the money. You can also say he gave it back. I lent him some money and he gave it back. So you can separate the phrasal verb with the noun or with the object, like here, to give the money back, or you can use a pronoun in the middle of the phrasal verb. Can you give it back? Can you give me the money back? Next one. We've discussed it. We've it. What do you think? Again, it's separated here, isn't it? There's an it there, the pronoun. We've discussed it. How many times have we discussed it? We've. That's good, Adri. Well done. Gave me the money back. Yep. Practice these phrasal verbs. Write a sentence. Because if you use it, you'll remember it. What do you think about this one? We've discussed the issue. We've discussed the problem. We've discussed the holiday. We've discussed whatever. We've it. What do you think? I think there might be a delay. No, Andrea, but that's a good try. You've got the verb correct, but not the preposition. So talked is correct, yes. But what's the preposition? Does anybody know? We've talked it. We've discussed it. We've spoken about it. Yes, Hema, that's 5. To talk over is the answer. If you talk something over, you talk about it, you discuss it. Yeah. We've talked this over before. We've discussed it before. We've talked it over 1,000 times. We've spoken about it before. So if you talk something over with someone, then you discuss it with them. Yeah. Okay, next one. She closed her jacket or her blouse or her coat. She her jacket. What's the phrasal verb that means to close? Especially when you're speaking about clothes that have a zip or buttons. Or maybe even your shoes, your shoelaces. You What do you do with your shoelaces? You can say you tie your shoelaces, or you can use this phrasal verb. Let me put that in the chat for you. You tie your shoelaces, Spanish cordones. So what do you do when you tie your shoelaces? You your shoelaces. Any ideas? Okay. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes, or a minute at least, to have a think. It's a very common verb. While we're waiting, hi Heidi, good to see you. That's okay. We're speaking about phrasal verbs, and you have to write in the chat, Heidi, what phrasal verb you think is missing here that means to close. When you close your jacket, close your coat with a zip. No, Anna, dress up. The phrasal verb dress up means to put on smart clothes. So you would dress up for a wedding, or you dress up for a party. It can also mean to wear a costume. If you go to a costume party called a fancy dress party, you could dress up as Dracula, or you could dress up as Superman, or you could dress up as Mickey Mouse or Wonder Woman. So you put on a costume to dress up as somebody else. That's another meaning of dress up. Now, Anna, you've got the preposition correct, but not the verb. So it's something up. No, Hema, good try, but unfortunately, that's not correct. No, Adri. Keep guessing. No, Andrea. I think I'll have to tell you. And you're going to kick yourself when you see the answer, because it's very, very easy. She did up her jacket. That means to close her jacket. If you do something up, you close it. For example, a coat. Do up your coat. It's cold outside. Do up your shirt, your blouse, your jacket. To do something up is to close it. You can also do up your shoelaces. And again, it's a phrasal verb that you can separate the particle from the verb. She did her shoelaces up. She tied her shoelaces. She did her jacket up because it was cold. So to do up means to close your clothes. Of course, it also has another meaning, because that's one of the difficult things about phrasal verbs, isn't it? You can do up your flat, which means to decorate it. To, you say in Spanish, hacer reformas. You can do up the kitchen. You can do up your bedroom, paint it, get new wardrobes. So again, two completely different meanings for the same phrasal verb. To do up. Yep, Estrella's got it. Well done. Good. Okay, moving on. Don't make me angry. Don't me. Now, this is another phrasal verb that is very, very common, but you might not know this because it's not commonly taught in course books and English classes, but it's very common in spoken English. If you make someone angry, there's an expression or phrasal verb that means a similar thing. As usual, please write your answers in the chat or have a guess. You could be right. What do you think? Any ideas? begins with a W. If you make someone angry, I have a friend who does this to me all the time on purpose. No, it's not worry up, but you've got the preposition right, Andrea. Very good. Do you remember years ago when people had watches and you did this to the watch because there was no battery inside the watch? Some of you are too young to remember this, but watches in the past or clocks had a key or something small that you turned so that the watch or the clock worked. It's the same phrasal verb. It's the same verb. And some children have very small toys with a key in the back. Not wear up, Estrella, no. But you're close. Not wrong up, not worry up. Yes, Andrea's got it. Yeah, you do this to the key and then the toy starts moving. It's wind up. Now be careful of the pronunciation because obviously wind is wind when it's a noun, and the adjective windy, there's a lot of wind, but the verb has a different pronunciation. To wind. The vowel sound is I, like I. This is my I. Wind, wind. And if you wind somebody up, you make them angry, or you try to make them angry. So you can tease somebody, and that's a verb that I'm going to put in the chat as well if you don't know it. To tease someone means to say something to try and get a reaction from them. Like you imagine you have a stick and you're poking somebody with a stick to get them to do something. You're teasing them. And that's very similar to winding somebody up. Sometimes it's funny if people get angry quickly. It can be funny to wind them up. So that's the answer. Don't wind me up. It's a very common expression, thing to say. Don't wind me up. You know that makes me angry. Okay, another one. He visited her house. If you visit someone, he her house. Another very common everyday phrasal verb that we use often. You should know this. So you can say, come and visit me, or you could say this. You visit someone. The verb begins with W, and the particle begins with R. Good question there. From while you're thinking about visiting, what could this phrasal verb be? There's a nice question from Adri, who's asking the word up or the preposition. How does it affect the verb? Is there any secret formula, secret tip, piece of advice to understand how it changes the verb? No, Adri, there isn't a formula or a rule that you can apply to every phrasal verb with up. However, in many phrasal verbs that have the word up, it can mean completion, to complete something. If your children are eating their food and they want to leave some food on the plate, you can say, finish up your meal, finish up your dinner. There's no dessert if you don't finish up your meal. Eat it all. So that idea of up is completion. Eat it all. Complete it. Another example, To use something up is to use it completely. Use up all of the sugar before you buy more. Use up all of the paint before you buy more. So I'm using this up. I'm completely using it. So actually, with many phrasal verbs, that particle up means completion, but not all. That's the problem. If you look up, look down, look up, there's no idea of completion in that phrasal verb. So I don't know if that was helpful. Have you got this one? He visited her house. He went round her house. To go round is to visit someone. Why don't you go round to visit your friend this afternoon? And if you want to invite someone to visit your house or flat, you can say, come round. Come round for some coffee later this afternoon. Or come round for a beer. Come round for a cup of tea. Come round for a glass of wine. Come and visit me. Come to my house where I live. So to go round someone's house or to say, come around and visit me. Very, very common. Why don't you go round and play video games with your friend for a couple of hours and leave me in peace? Why don't you go round and see your friend? How are we doing for time? Oh, we've still got a few minutes left. So, another one. Harry thought of a brilliant idea. Harry, a brilliant idea. So this phrasal verb means to think of something that's really good, really impactful. Oh, the brilliant idea. How did you think of that? So to think of something, and the phrasal verb begins with H and the particle begins with O. It's a preposition. So you can use this when you're speaking about a fantastic idea, a wonderful solution, a really good suggestion. You can use this phrasal verb. Come on, Gemma, you've got to go for number 6. You've got 5 correct so far. Do you know this one? Any idea, Heidi? To think of something. So I've been thinking a lot about the royal family these last few days. And as I said at the beginning, I'm not really a royalist, but thinking of this made me appreciate what the Queen has done. But I really think that the royal family in the UK now is going to be changing. I think there's going to be a change in its image. It's not going to be the same institution as it has been for the last 70 years with Queen Liz. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if the colonies, the countries that make up the Commonwealth, started like one by one to break ties with the UK and stop having such a close connection. That wouldn't surprise me either. So I see there are no suggestions for to think of something. Let me tell you. Hit on. You can hit on a brilliant idea. That means to think of a brilliant idea or solution. Oh, it's really good. You've hit on a fantastic solution for this problem. You've discovered or thought of a brilliant idea or solution. To hit on something. Okay, next one. Let's see if you have better luck with this. Craig began a long grammar explanation. Craig, a long grammar explanation. Begins with L and I. And the verb is the same verb you'd use for a rocket that goes up into space, or a satellite, or a business. You can use this verb to speak about a business as well. Not had on, it was hit on, Adri. He hit on a brilliant idea. So what do you think about this one? Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault. I apologize. That was my fault. I muted my microphone because I coughed, and I forgot to unmute my microphone. So, yeah, the audio dropped out. Sorry about that. What was I saying? I was saying well done to MJ for getting Launch Into, which was the last one. And then I was talking about launching a rocket, launching a satellite, launching a business, or launching a new product on the market. And then we came to this one. We mustn't let this problem divide us or separate us. What's the phrasal verb? This problem mustn't us. So imagine two people are in a relationship. They're having a problem. There's a problem there. And they say, yeah, we mustn't let this interfere with the relationship. We mustn't let this us. What do you think? Two people speaking, there's a big problem. What do you think? Oh, any ideas? No, no guesses. That's a difficult one, is it? This problem mustn't divide us. This problem mustn't. Well, I'll tell you. Come between us. If something comes between two people, it divides you, it separates you, it sits in the middle and causes problems. So Yeah, I know there's a problem in the relationship, but don't let this problem come between you. Don't let it divide you. Don't let it cause problems. So if something comes between you, yep, well done, MJ. You got there. To come between us. And the last one today is quite controversial because there's lots of talk in the news about pronouns for people who are not sure how they identify. So you could say this pronoun symbolizes or represents my sexual orientation, or this pronoun, my sexual orientation. What's the phrasal verb? So this phrasal verb means to symbolize something or to represent something. You got, oh yeah, you got half. Yeah, you did get half, MJ. You didn't get the come between us. So half a point. Can you get the last one, MJ? Gemma, any idea? Heidi? To symbolize or represent. Another use of this is if you have, no, not signs for, no. If you have something like BBC or FBI or WHO, you can say that these letters, BBC come, these letters represent da da da, or these letters symbolize da da da, or these letters, yes, Alvaro, well done. Alvaro's got it. To stand for. Andrea has it as well. Very good. So you can say that the BBC stands for the British Broadcasting Corporation. WHO stands for the World Health Organization. And you can say this pronoun stands for my sexual orientation. It represents it. So there you go. To finish, let's go quickly back through the phrasal verbs we've looked at today. First one was to recover from something. So she got over her illness. She got over COVID. If the dog attacks you, you can say it went for me unexpectedly. If you don't expect something, it's not something you bargain for. These incredibly high electricity bills and gas bills and cost of petrol, nobody bargained for this when we decided to support the war in Ukraine. To realize, it dawns on you, it suddenly dawned on me, I have a busy week this week. I suddenly realized. And if you sympathize with someone, you feel for them. I really feel for our neighbors who are having bad luck at the moment. I really feel for members of the royal family who have lost the Queen. To investigate is to look into. The police are looking into the recent robbery in our area. And to return is to give back. He gave me the money back that I lent him. When are you going to give me my money back? To discuss something is to talk over. It's a good idea to talk over your problems and to do up your coat or your shoelaces or your jackets. And to make someone angry is to wind them up. Don't wind me up with your nonsense. I know your tricks. You're trying to provoke me. Don't wind me up. And if you visit someone, you go round their house. I went round to his house for a cup of tea. And when you get a minute, why don't you come round for a coffee? If you think of something, then you hit on a brilliant idea or a brilliant solution. And to start a speech or a long explanation, you can launch into something. You can launch into a long explanation. And to divide or separate is to come between. So don't let any problems come between you and your loved one. And finally, to symbolize or represent is to stand for something. So, yes, you have a lot of phrasal verbs, Andrea, to learn and remember. Remember. I hope you wrote some of these down. With phrasal verbs, don't get stressed, don't panic. There were a lot of phrasal verbs today. I don't think it's necessary to write down all of them and learn all of them in a long list, but maybe there were 4 or 5 that you thought, oh, that's useful. I like that. So that's true with all vocabulary. Write down the words that you think you'll be using, that you like, that you can really identify with. Oh, I like that phrasal verb. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to use that next time I speak English. Thank you, MJ. Good to have you here. Again, next week, I'll be back with Lynn helping me. And I promise it won't be so boring with Lynn because she's a lot of fun. And it's much easier to do these live streams with somebody by my side and not speaking into this microphone here. But thank you for being here live in the chat. I really do appreciate you keeping me company while I do this so that I don't feel so lonely and on my own. And if this is the first time you're watching, either live or the replay, my name's Craig and I'm from the website mansioningles.com, where you can learn English for free. And we've got lots of material on that website and also a bi-monthly newsletter that we send via email twice a month. If you like listening to podcasts, please go to inglespodcast.com and listen to our podcast. And you can also find this on Spotify, on Apple, on Google Play, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And finally, I'm starting a new conversation course at the beginning of October. The first class will be on October the 10th, which is a Monday. If you have a B2 level or above and you want the opportunity to practice your English conversation with me and a small group of lovely people, the maximum in the group will be 8, but it's usually fewer. And the way to get more information is to go to this website, englishmasterclass.net, write your email address, sign up on the webpage, and I will be in touch soon to give you more information. And if you are interested, let me just put that website address in the chat for you, englishmasterclass.net. I'm really enjoying the courses I'm doing at the moment, and they finish next week, but there will be another course starting in October, and I hope to see you there. Thank you again for joining. Have a wonderful week and a really, really good weekend. And I'll see you next Wednesday with Lynn. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.